Hi, my name is Madeline, and welcome to Mercatus Executive Insights. In this segment, we'll be talking about the troubling prospect of unprofitable growth, which is where power producers are headed today. Joining me is Haresh Patel, co-founder and CEO, who's kind enough to share his insights with us. Haresh, hello. Thank you for joining us and sharing your insights today. Can you tell me, what inspired you to start Mercatus?
I started Mercatus with the vision to help the industry accelerate $20 trillion of capital that's required to make the shift from a centralized power grid to a decentralized future. And what we noticed was that there was just too much deal friction and the cost of project acquisition was very high.
This certainly sounds like an important issue to address. But can you tell me, what excites you about the energy industry today?
I think we're at an incredible tipping point. There are really two things that have happened here. One, the price of fossil fuel now is more expensive than the cost of solar, wind, and other renewable technology, which is driving tremendous growth. In fact, by 2040, Bloomberg New Energy Finance predicts that a third of our fuel source and energy source will come from solar and wind. That's pretty exciting. That's a lot of growth coming up.
This sounds very promising for a growing sector, but what, if any, challenges do you see ahead?
The biggest challenge is a shift in paradigm of cost of electricity. With technology prices coming down so fast, it's actually caused the price of electricity to come down. And that's created an interesting challenge and disruption for the current business model that power producers live under. The power purchase agreement and the independent power producer model are both under attack. Really two reasons for that. The tenet of both of those agreements was based on the fact that prices would always rise, and so customers are interested in locking up long-term contracts and locking up long-term contracts with a price escalator. But when you have these price declines, who would want to sign up for a long-term contract? So the core business model is under attack.
But this isn't a new concept. I mean, we've seen how dramatic price reductions have impacted industries in the past. One would think that power producers would be ready for such a change, but why is there such a struggle?
Well, I think the challenge that the industry has is they've overlooked a key area. There's been a reliance for the last decade or so on dramatic cost curve improvements in technology. And yet, there's been one area that's been fairly flatlined, which is OpEx and productivity. So when these companies are going through these kinds of changes, a lot of times it's hard to see these macro forces. But there's a single area that I think that's highly overlooked by our executives in the energy industry. And I'd like to talk a little bit more about that.
Yes, go ahead.
Well, CapEx is coming down dramatically. However, OpEx, as we've studied that, has been stubbornly flat for over a decade. That presents probably the single biggest opportunity to gain a competitive advantage on a profitable growth curve.
And how would you frame this scenario?
Well, they're in a perfect storm, right? You have their core business model under attack, which they have to now reinvent. They've got very high operating costs, which they have to address. And they have to assume that technology costs may not be the only way to drive their profitability. All three have to be addressed at once. And they have to continue investing in this because the distributed future is the energy future.
What is it that energy producers need to do to ride out this perfect storm?
Well, I think they have to learn how to control the one thing that they can control, which is their operating overhead and the cost of project acquisition. It presents the single largest opportunity to gain the upper hand on a profitable growth curve and actually gain a sustained competitive advantage. The other two, technology and the cost of the price of electricity, are basically out of their control. Those are market forces. So focusing on that one area that is under their control is an area that most executives overlooked.
This certainly is an overlooked issue. How have you come to realize all of this?
Well, I've been on the road for over a year now talking to power producers, CEOs, and CFOs, and we've learned a lot, and I would love to share with other executives, the journey that these companies are on what they're doing in terms of changing their strategy and their tactics to survive and thrive in this very hyper-competitive market that is rapidly changing in front of our eyes.
I hope you found these insights useful. For more information, you can go to www.gomercatus.com. Thank you.